I have some final thoughts for Season 4 of Better Call Saul, including a mistake I made in one of my videos. But before I get to any of that, I wanted to take a moment to express my gratitude for all the views and comments I've gotten over the season. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch my videos and to comment if you did. I truly appreciate it. I also wanted to take a moment to recognize that I could not do any of these videos without the brilliant writing, directing, and acting in Better Call Saul. I really owe everything to the writers, directors, and actors of this program because it's really their brilliant work that give us so much to contemplate. So without further ado, let's get into my closing thoughts on Better Call Saul Season 4. Hey, I'm G, and this is the G-Spot. The letter from Chuck is not a forgery. This is a letter from Chuck. The key to this letter is the date that it was written. This letter was written while Jimmy was in the mailroom. Jimmy says several times throughout the season that Chuck wrote a really good letter because the letter appears to be a very heartfelt, sweet letter from one brother to another, to most people, to everybody, in fact, except Jimmy. Jimmy realizes that because the letter was written while he was in the mailroom, it's really an insult from Chuck. The letter is telling Jimmy, you found your place in the world, you belong in a mailroom. This is not a nice letter, and it's not something Kim would write to him. The other reason why we know Kim didn't write this letter is because of the opening. The opening of the letter speaks of Jimmy coming home from the hospital and the smile that it put on his mother's face. This is the origin of Chuck's disdain towards Jimmy. Chuck was always jealous of the way Jimmy's mother treated Jimmy over Chuck. In a previous episode, I honestly forget which one it is, but we see the passing of Chuck and Jimmy's mom, and her last words on her deathbed, she's calling for Jimmy. Kim would not know this dynamic about Chuck and Jimmy's relationship, nor would she put it in the letter. On top of this, they never gave us any reason to think that this letter was from Kim and not Chuck. The reason this letter existed is because Chuck died last season. Jimmy did go from Jimmy to Saul this season, and the two most significant relationships in Jimmy's life were Chuck and Kim. They needed a way to somewhat represent Chuck during Jimmy's transition from Jimmy to Saul. And the way they did that was with Chuck's letter. I rarely insist on anything, especially things that we don't have proof for, but this letter is not a forgery. It's from Chuck. I mentioned in my review of episode 9 that the theme was changing gears, and that there was a lot of foreshadowing in that episode to tell us that Walt would soon be entering the picture. There is a small problem with this, which is there's like 4 years between where they're at in Better Call Saul and when Breaking Bad begins. So in order for Walt to enter anytime soon, there would have to be a jump in time. I believe that is exactly what will happen for season 5. There's a few reasons why I think that. 1, it's what they did in Breaking Bad. 2, the theme from the 9th episode was really strong about changing gears, and there was a lot of foreshadowing for the entering of Heisenberg. 3, in the 10th episode, we have a very different look. Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad have always had similar looks, but Better Call Saul has been a darker show. And I just mean this, I don't mean it in mood, I mean literally in lighting that they use in scenes. Better Call Saul in general is darker. And in this 10th episode of the 4th season, it was a very bright episode. It reminded me a lot of Breaking Bad. It looked more like Breaking Bad than any Better Call Saul episode before. I am confident that we are going to see a time jump in season 5, and that we will see Walt and Jesse enter early on in season 5. I actually think we're going to see 3 different timelines in season 5. We usually see Gene in just the openings of the season. I think we're going to see more of Gene in season 5. I think we're going to see the timeline we've been watching in Better Call Saul in season 5. And I think we're also going to jump ahead so that Walt and Jesse can enter the picture, being on the Breaking Bad timeline. At this point, we can say that Jimmy is Saul. It doesn't mean that Saul is everything he will ever be right now, Saul will continue to evolve. So just because we haven't seen Saul do some of the crazy things we know he will get into, Jimmy is Saul right now. Saul was born in that courtroom. He will grow and continue to cross lines and boundaries. He'll continue to become more of a criminal and to value human life less and less. But he is still Saul right now. Jimmy has spent this entire season flirting with Saul Goodman. He's acted a lot more like Saul Goodman when he was selling those cell phones. He had his business cards made out in the name of Saul Goodman. He was using the name Saul. Jimmy had a lot of flirting with Saul throughout this 4th season. But now that it's over and he's going to officially change his name, Jimmy is gone and only Saul exists. So the mistake that I made is in the video, Lalo's secret weapon. I probably make more than one mistake. This is just the most significant. I never really know if I'm absolutely right in the themes that I cover. The best evidence that I'm right is when everything really comes together really well. Everything I say loops around and connects to the other things, because that's what a good theme does. But I can never guarantee I'm 100% right. However, in this video, Lalo's secret weapon, I describe Jimmy as not being present. I describe other people as not being able to switch gears. Like I say, Gus and Mike cannot switch gears, meaning they cannot siphon through their emotions. They're always in one emotional state. And then I say that Jimmy can siphon through emotions, but he's not present in the moment. And this is wrong about Jimmy. Not being present was right about Kim, but it wasn't completely accurate about Jimmy. It's actually not even wrong. He's kind of not present. I don't know. I can't say exactly what it is, but at this point, what I think it is Jimmy is not present, and also Jimmy cannot shift through all his gears. He's limited to the emotional states he can exist in. I think that's probably it. So I said he can't manage to be present in a situation, but I think Jimmy's actually both. Jimmy can't be present, and he also can't switch through all his gears. But either way, what I say in the video does work. It doesn't break the theme, but I just wanted to say that because he's the main character and his development is kind of important. So maybe season 5 will give me a chance to go back and refine that statement better, to better define Jimmy and Saul's limitations. I'm excited for season 5. I will definitely be covering it, and I'll have lots more videos between now and then on different topics. I am considering going back and covering Breaking Bad. I'm wondering how much interest there is in me doing that. If that's something you would be interested in, please go ahead and leave it in the comments so I know. I hope you enjoyed my coverage over the season. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.